begins.
The trailer for Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender is finally out, and the show is all set to release on February 22nd. The original animated series was created by Brian Konietzko and Michael DiMartino for Nickelodeon, which healed a generation when it released and did it once again during a global pandemic, when several non-watchers hopped onto the bandwagon to experience the marvelous storytelling. The show is not only a classic, but it is ridiculously critically acclaimed. This means that the stakes are high for Netflix to get it right. Now that the trailer is here, we can get a glimpse into how they are approaching the show, and this is exactly what we're going to discuss and break down in today's video. Before we get to the heart of the topic, do like and subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with our videos.
I'm the Avatar, and I'm gonna save the world.
What the trailer gives away and what it conceals to reveal in the future. The story of Avatar: The Last Airbender revolves around a world where the four great nations, namely the Fire Nation, the Water Tribes, the Air Nomads, and the Earth Kingdom, used to coexist. Each nation has a population of benders who can bend the elements that their respective nations are known for. However, a century prior to the events of the story, the Fire Nation rose up as an imperial colonial power in the world, attacking the other tribes and eliminating the Air Nomads. Having become a military powerhouse, the Fire Nation found an enemy among the other elemental communities, with no one having the power to oppose them. We learn about the forced rise of the Fire Nation and it being harmful to the world in the trailer, which is why Katara mentions that the world needs Aang. From the get-go, we can tell that Aang is going to join hands with Katara and Zuko from the Southern Water Tribe in this journey to save the world from the Fire Nation. The trailer does a fantastic job of showing everything the show can offer without giving away the story beyond its plot. We get to see elaborate action sequences with characters bending air, water, fire, and earth. We see weapon-oriented action sequences, several Asian fighting styles such as the Tai Chi, Northern Shaolin, Hungar, and Bagua. We see warships, which are quite obviously manned by the Fire Nation military. We see mythical creatures unique to the story such as Appa, who is Aang's flying bison, and Nyla, who is a Shirshu in league with a Fire Nation bounty hunter named June. The prevalence of the action sequences in the trailer plays a huge role in creating the necessary hype, because what better way to get you excited for a show than spiking your adrenaline levels. We get a glimpse of the expansive world building that Brian Konietzko and Michael Dante DiMartino achieved crafter for the original animated show, and most importantly, we learned that the world needs the Avatar, which is Aang. However, Aang never wanted to be the person to save the world. He feels like a huge responsibility has been thrusted upon him because there are things to do that only he as the Avatar can do. Fortunately for him, he has his friends fighting by his side. The casting of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Netflix has more or less hit the nail on the head when it comes to the casting. Since Avatar has a predominantly Asian inspiration, it only makes sense for a good majority of the cast to be Asians. The Air Nomads represent the Tibetans. The Fire Nation is a fantasy replication of Imperial Japan, and the Earth Kingdom is a reflection of the Ming Dynasty and the Qing Dynasty in China. The Water Tribes have been created with inspiration from the Inuit people, who are closely related to the East Asians, genetically speaking. South Korean-Canadian actor Paul Sun-Hyung Lee as Uncle Iroh is easily one of the best examples of live-action casting. We have previously seen him in Kim's Convenience as the patriarch of a South Korean immigrant family living in Toronto, so we already know how great he is on screen. The main cast is also quite young by age, and often live-action adaptations tend to cast actors who are older, which is what we saw in the Percy Jackson films. However, Netflix nails this aspect of the casting as well, with each character looking their age. A slight discrepancy could be the casting of Katara and Sokka, with both of them being light-skinned and Sokka looking less Asian and more Caucasian. Since the Inuits live in sub-zero temperatures, the reflection of ultraviolet rays from the snow tends to give them a tan. In defense of the casting directors, however, it can be exceedingly hard to come across people who fit the exact bill and also happen to be great actors. The visuals and the mistaken architectural depiction. We have mentioned the trailer giving us a sneak peek of the expansive world building in Avatar: The Last Airbender. Each nation is visually designed to depict a certain culture, with the said culture thriving in certain geographical environments. Landscapes showing us what seems to be the Antarctic, sequences of temperate forests, villages with roofs that were commonplace across the Eastern Asia of the past, and characters from the Fire Nation in front of royal backdrops. Due to Zuko's family being royalty, make it to the screen. Marines. You could argue against the design of the Fire Nation Navy ship, however, because in the trailer it appears with an elaborate ornamentation. The Fire Nation architecture is rich in culture and heritage, but it is not reflected in the warships, which are supposed to be less flamboyant and more industrial. This is because the Fire Nation draws inspiration from Imperial Japan. While life in the nation is elegant, its vessels present a contrast with its brutalist architecture. If you look at a Navy warship from Imperial Japan or the animated source material, you will notice how industrial the vessels look. They have no ornamentation unlike their live-action counterpart. However, we also witness a fair amount of jet black smoke coming out of the ships, which shows us its industrial nature. The music score, a point the show cannot afford to mess up. Based on the trailer alone, there are a lot of places where the score, although great, deviates from the source. The musical compositions commonplace in Avatar: The Last Airbender are heavy and brass, especially with respect to the Fire Nation. The trailer presents us with orchestral string ornamentations, which are more commonplace in Western culture. It does have the chanting that is commonplace in the original alongside some Eastern string instruments, but take them out and it could fit into a Western period drama or a superhero film. Now, because this is simply a trailer and not the original show, this should not have a big impact on how the score of the live-action adaptation is perceived as a whole. However, the score falling flat would be a huge problem since the one in the original is so memorable, with the usage of sorrowful Armenian instrument known as the duduk, which is how Iroh's tsungi horn sounds. There are also various types of flutes, string instruments such as the vina, heavy percussion with Asian influences, as well as the djembe drums that originated in West Africa, so on and so forth. Sound design as a whole is an integral part of the show due to the elemental fighting style, but based on the trailer, we have high hopes for this aspect. What do we expect from the series? All in all, after the flack and criticism received by M. Night Shyamalan's live-action adaptation of Avatar, we expect Netflix to not deviate from the source material at all. Of course, certain things might be different because the visual format of the story has been altered from animation to live-action, and with that comes heavy usage of CGI. The issue, however, lies in the fact that live-action adaptations can often take the soul out of the animation, where there is boundless potential for experimentation. Despite how far CGI and special effects have come, a heavy usage of them with a realistic backdrop can often make things look too fake, even within fantasy. There are certain scenes that look phenomenal, however, such as Aang's Avatar state, or him coming out of that giant globe of ice, with the CGI not only doing justice to the animation, but also enhancing it to an extent. This boils down to the fact that certain visual formats are more suitable for certain scenes and moments. For example, we can hype up animation here, but often animation can fall flat in comparison to how it has been drawn in a comic or a manga. Not because the animation did not do it justice, but because still drawings are the best way of executing that particular form of art. Marvelous verdict. Due to the hype that has been created for the adaptation for years now, we have high hopes for Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender, especially because it is a series with multiple episodes and not a movie. The One Piece live action has also proved how an animation to camera transition does not have to fail. The primary requirement, however, will always be for the story to remain faithful to the canon. What are your thoughts on the trailer? Are you excited and do you want to see more of Avatar videos? Let us know in the comments down below. Until then, have a fantastic day.